Welcome back, folks, to Ground Zero Reptiles. My name is Lee. Today we're going to discuss how to bond with my snake.
Hit that subscribe button and the bell icon too. Welcome to Ground Zero Reptiles.
So first off, just so everyone will know that snakes don't react to you calling their names like, let's say, cats and dogs. But what you can do with your snake is get it used to you to where you are not a threat to them. So when you're holding them, their stress levels don't skyrocket and go through the roof. So my first trick is don't handle your snakes for at least 2 days. Once you put them into their environment, don't handle them at all for 2 days. Not to move them for something else you're adding in there, not for this, not for that. Don't handle them at all. This will allow them to de-stress when you just put them into their new environment from traveling from wherever you got them, either if they're shipped from a breeder or you got them at a reptile show, or even if you got them at a pet store. Just put them in there and let them de-stress. I know that'll probably be one of the hardest things you can do when you first got your snake. It's the fact that you can't handle them, but it's best for them. And yes, it's even hard for me too. So don't handle your snake no matter what. The next tip and trick is to observe your snake. So that doesn't mean you're having your face right next to the glass peering in, freaking them out. That means you walk in and out of the room, you stay at a distance, observe your snake, see if he or she is out and about at night, which will be a good sign. Or even if they're out and about during the day, which can be questionable. They can probably be sick, or they can just be stressed out and they're just checking out their new environment. But observe them. And then they will also see you. They'll see you come in, they'll see you leave, and come in and leave and come in and leave, and they'll see you that, hey, this creature hasn't attacked me yet. So I think they're okay where they're at. So it allows them to get accustomed to you and whatever you are that brings that to them, which is either danger or not danger. So just sit back and observe for a few days. So the third one is establish a good feeding habit. So that being when they're young, that might be a little difficult, but try to establish a good feeding habit, keep repetition, and keep everything consistent, which will help them adjust. Now, if you get an already established eater like a king snake or a corn snake or a very strong feeding snake, it's already established for the most part. Unless you really gave them a horrible trip back home where they were shipped and they got the box kicked around where they're extremely stressed out. They might, at that point, they probably won't eat, but they're usually very, very ferocious eaters, and you shouldn't have any issues. Now, coming down with a ball python. Ball pythons, even if you get them shipped or you pick them up at a reptile store or a Repticon, like a reptile show, that can stress them out as well. And that's why a lot of people recommend just leaving them alone, don't touching them for 2 days, and then basically leave them absolutely alone for 2 weeks without trying to feed them. And hopefully after about 2 weeks you try to feed them, they might eat. But remember, with picky eaters like ball pythons, it may take a couple weeks, may take a couple months to establish that strong feeding habit. For the most part, most of my ball pythons actually had a good feeding habit within 2 to 4 weeks. And there's one I'm currently kind of is off and on. I haven't quite established that feeding habit. I've had her for about a month now. So it does take time and does take patience. So after you establish this good feeding habit, the next one is actually handling your snake. The thing that everyone loves to do and wants to do so bad through their first few weeks of getting their snake is to actually handle them. Now, you gotta make sure when you go in there and you reach in there, you're always gentle. A nice, steady motion, and you're gently picking them up. Now, One thing you got to remember is if your snake is an already defensive snake, you might not quite want to pick them up right away. Now, there's some people say, well, for them to get used to you, you reach into their house, their environment, and you pet them. Now that can lead to them using their body to push you away, or they might actually do a defensive strike, basically letting you know, I'm stressed out, get away from me, I don't want anything to do with you. Something else they can do is they can run away. Don't chase them, try to grab their tail and pull them back, just let them go. Try another time, another couple hours from now, the next day, just take the as it's not time. Now, once you go, you open up their environment and they're ready, and you see they're there, and you go and pick them up. Make sure you support their body, at least the thickest part of their body. You want to use two hands, but at least if anything, if you're busy handling something else, trying to lift out the hide or trying to move something out the way or put something back, at least have one hand that's securing the thickest part of their body. Now, like in ball pythons, they might actually be balled up when you pick them up. But keep in mind, that's their way of protecting themselves and making themselves feel safe. Now, if they suddenly come out of that and they're looking around, they're flicking their tongue over here and looking over here and checking this out, flicking their tongue, that's actually a good sign. That's a good sign that they're comfortable, and then they're just checking out their new environment. They're comfortable enough to do that while they're in your hands. And for the most part, try to be steady and calm as possible. In fact, find somewhere to just sit down so where you're not moving around, and let them kind of just enjoy looking around, smelling things, smelling you because you're new as well to them, and then looking at you, and you're holding them, and they see, hey, this person, he or she's kind of cool, they're not gonna hurt me, so I think I feel safe. The next tip is how often you should be handling your snake. Now, that really depends on your snake and how easily stressed out they get, or how already defensive they are. I recommend at least once a week. You start off once a week, about 15 minutes. Now, let's say that comes around your first time handling. You're like, okay, this is gonna be my once a week. Let me pick them up. Okay, they're doing good. They're checking things out. 5 minutes comes around and you can tell they're stressing out. They're not flicking their tongue anymore. They're hiding it on you. They're trying to find a little place to hide so they can feel safe. So they're stressed out. 5 minutes, it's not my 15 minutes, but you know what, let me put them back. Then you just try again next week. Hey, not 5 minutes anymore, it's 10 minutes. Excellent, they got stressed out after 10 minutes, I'll put them back. Then next week. And then you start doing this repetition where you keep this constant once a week. Now, let's say you get to once a week and you can hold them for 30 minutes outside of their home. Try twice a week. Do twice a week for do a goal of 15 minutes. Now, if they don't make it to that 15 minutes, or if they do, you put them back. No matter how much longer you want to hold on, you put them back. And then 2 days later, or a couple days later, for the second time that week, you pick them up again. If they get stressed out after 5 minutes, put them back. If they're okay for that 15 minutes, keep them 15 minutes, and 15 minutes is up, you put them back. And you keep doing that. Now you can do it twice a week, and you can boost it up to 30 minutes if they're good. Or you can do 3 times a week for 15 minutes. But also keep in mind, you don't want to be handling your snake with one, they're already stressed out due to shed, because shedding, they do get a little agitated. Or after you fed them. You don't want to handle them after you fed them, because they could get agitated, stressed out, and regurgitate their meal. But keep it consistent. And remember, it's not the pleasure for you in the beginning, you're establishing this bond. You're establishing, hey, I'm a good person, I'm comfortable to be around. If you start feeling stressed, let me know and I'll take care of you. So make sure you you document and keep track of their behaviors when you're handling them. So that's all for today, folks. Just remember that all snakes are different. Let's say you might have 10 different ball pythons, and each of them have a completely different personality. No matter how long you've had them all for 5 years, but you will notice a different personality. You'll pick up their mannerisms. You'll pick up, oh, this one doesn't like eating while in shed, but this one doesn't care. This one doesn't like being picked up while in shed, but this one does. This one can go 24 hours after, I can pick them up 24 hours after they feed, but this one I can't. And this one is usually skittish when I first open it, and they look like they're in a defensive strike, but they're okay. This one is completely open. He or she'll slither right up and then, you know, greet me in the front. You gotta just remember, all snakes have different personalities and they will not be the same. So it might take a little bit more time to establish this feeding habit, or to actually be able to first pick them up, or to actually be able to get a couple times a week, if you want to shoot for that, you know, a couple times a week holding them for 30 minutes. That might take months or even years. That's all based on the snake and how well and comforting you are to them. So make sure you take care of your snakes very well, and you'd be able to enjoy them. But once again, it's not for us, it's for them. So like I always say, make sure you take care of your family, take care of your reptiles, and I'll see you again.